Today, we will have the opportunity to speak with a local blogger. Her name is Agiewich, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself. We will begin with where she's from.
Well, I grew up mostly in California in the Bay Area, and I moved to Seattle in '92, so I've lived here for a while.
When did you start writing, Rebecca?
In fourth grade, I was still writing a little bit, but then started writing professionally, getting paid to write, and then really working on writing creatively again and writing fiction. So really all my life, but most intensively for the last 10 years.
What kind of education background do you have?
Well, I studied comparative literature at UC Berkeley. I got a bachelor's, and then I also studied comparative literature at University of Washington, got a master's degree.
What exactly is comparative literature?
It's basically studying literature. You're supposed to be reading literature in another language besides English, at least one other language, and then you could take all kinds of other wacky classes besides literature classes.
How do you think the internet affected your writing?
Getting that direct feedback, that was something that was really new to me as a writer, and that definitely motivated me. It was like you were having this ongoing conversation with people, and that was great because you spend so much time as a writer traditionally just writing alone in your room, never knowing if anyone is going to read anything that you wrote.
How did you get into blogging?
When I went through this breakup in 2002, blogging was starting to come into the spotlight. You know, I was so emotionally distraught at that time, and I just somehow felt like writing a blog might be a fun thing to do and a fun way to kind of share my feelings with friends. And I always like to write about relationships, and especially breakups, in a humorous way. And
you actually never met your agent. They came to you through your blog.
yeah, she signed me up without ever having met in person. We eventually met, of course, but yeah, it was all kind of through the internet that we found each other.
So how many agents have you had?
Just one. I mean, I talked to a few different agents before I sold my book, but I've only had one.
What do you do now with your blog?
The original blog that launched my book is still up there, and it's just kind of an archive. And now I have a couple different blogs that are just a little more general. That one was very focused on dating and relationships, and now I just kind of blog about whatever I feel like, about writing and travel, and I don't blog as nearly as much as I used to either.
So your first book was called Breakup Babe. Are you planning on writing another book?
I am. I'm sort of in the process of writing one now, or I'm at least working on an idea. Whether it really pans out, I don't know, but when I got the idea for Breakup Babe, you know, based on the blog, it was this flash of inspiration, and I knew I would be able to write a book and actually sell it. I just really had a lot of faith in that idea, and it's taken me a long time to come up with something else, and I still don't know if I've really found my next idea or not.
Is this your only source of income, or?
No, it's not my only source of income. I work a variety of different jobs, but one thing I do is I teach writing and I teach blogging, and then I also do editing for the high-tech world, so I've worked off and on quite a lot for Microsoft as an editor.
Kind of took a look a little bit at your website. It looks like you're a consultant.
Yes, I do that as well. I'm a blogging consultant and a writing consultant, and I also write freelance articles as well. I like to write travel articles.
So what is it that keeps you connected to the blog? You do all these other things to keep your writing going. What keeps you motivated?
As far as writing fiction goes, because I write both fiction and nonfiction, so as far as writing fiction goes, I think it's just a way to have that time every day where I'm just in my imagination and making up stories. And that was always something I loved to do as a kid. I love to pretend, and I still like to do that as an adult, and writing fiction gives me the chance to do that. And I guess writing nonfiction, fiction as well, is just kind of a way for me to look at the world around me and sort of give my interpretation of it and kind of put some meaning on my own life. And that's really what the blog did too, because when I was writing that blog, Breakup Babe, I was going through such a hard time in my life, and writing the blog really helped me to kind of make sense of it, to make fun of it, and therefore feel better about it.
That kind of takes me to my next point of the idea between fiction and nonfiction. The idea with blogging is that you kind of have to insert your own voice. How do you think that technology provides or will continue to provide objective journalism
it's evolving so quickly, it's hard to even imagine what journalism is going to look like in a few years. I think the thing that kind of gives the internet a bad reputation or bloggers a bad reputation is that they're not really held to the same editorial standards as traditional print journalists. So that will probably evolve too. And I mean, there are some bloggers out there who do have those editorial standards and have earned a good reputation. But I think there needs to be more of that for bloggers to be taken more seriously. It's already sort of given so many more people a voice and given us such a different way to hear news and experience events than we've had before. So those editorial standards aren't always important. The media has been being criticized for now is that newspapers, for example, are hiring or quote unquote hiring all these citizen journalists to give them
Hmm.
content for free via blogs, and so they're not paying for content by professional writers. They're just using free content from people who are not necessarily the greatest writers. So I know that media is coming under fire for that, especially from professional writers who want to get paid. And you see all kinds of ads on Craigslist now for bloggers and writers offering really little money, and it's kind of disturbing.
Do you think that news is still worth money?
Yes, I think so. Not everyone can write a good news story. Not everyone has those skills to go out and do a piece of investigative journalism or any kind of journalism and do it well. I think it's worth paying for that really good news. Not all news, you don't have to pay for all of it. Some of it's just out there for the taking and anyone can write it, but probably really high quality journalism, yes, it's worth paying for.
Well,
I think maybe I'm just old fashioned though.
thank you very much. That gives a little bit of credit to the education I have. We'd like to thank Rebecca for allowing us to interview her. And if you'd like to learn a little bit more about what she does, you can go to her website at rebecca.agiewich, AGIEWICH.net.